mean, it's like I need to put the stuff I'm working on in front of other people, but it's like it's not necessarily in a format to do that yet. And then part of the problem is because I'm trying to integrate all knowledge, or like all kinds of knowledge or aspects of the world and so on, and create an index to it. It's like there are a lot of jarring things in all of it, and it gets into like um, and not just jarring in a negative way, but just things that are normally not juxtaposed next to each other and so on. And it kind of takes it's like a different type of perspective. It's a different way to look at the world, to like pull all these things together, including like geopolitics, um, personal interests, and like on up to the way it all connects together. And then also just day-to-day practical functioning, and then also into like this whole thing of analyzing and beginning to think about, or thinking, focusing more on thinking about this workflow process of like, if I put content online, people post comments and say whatever, and it's like I can look at them and process the feedback and so on. But it's like, to some extent, when people post comments or post their own things or whatever, they're engaging their own life workflow process, which is parallel in terms of history. Like, billions of people's lives are progressing in parallel through history, each hour and day and minute and all that, and then it's like they interact at certain points, and it's like at certain points people meet up and then form bonds, get married, form relationships, form companies, form friendships, and then at times they break apart, and it gets into this whole question of like how that all works. And it's like when you look at history as this, which visualization makes possible, and the whole concept of like global integration thinking or whatever makes possible, is you have this progression of history with all these people, and it's like I'm a participant in this, numerous other people are participants in it, and it's like using certain things like YouTube and TED Talks and just online content in general. It's more conceivable to think of it as like this really active, like interactive screenplay kind of a thing. And Ken Robinson in particular is a point of reference in looking at things in that manner. And also this video, Honey, I Wrecked the Kids. It's this TEDx video where the speaker makes a reference to Ken Robinson, and then it's like, this goes back into this whole question of how media is consumed through the lifespan, and this concept of self-socialization that I've seen referenced in at least one academic article, where people basically have an opportunity to decide what content they surf and find, and editors, of course, influence what people read or watch. And it's like if you're flipping through TV channels, the list of channels that's available provides a context, and it's like you're limited within that context to picking something that's on the listings, or you can look ahead or do some other task, but it provides a menu for you, just like when you walk into a restaurant, you have a menu and you could leave the restaurant or whatever, but it's like you have a menu in front of you, basically, where the restaurant owners or designers serve kind of as editors, and they're kind of like editing, just like a newspaper editor will edit and select content that's then available for you to peruse, like in the morning newspaper or whatever, or on Google News or Yahoo News or whatever. Editors pick these featured items, even if there's like certain standard elements that are going to be included, like it's a major global event, of course they're going to edit that in, but then there's also like choices. And same thing with a restaurant. Like most restaurants have certain standard items, but then it gets into like how that menu is composed, and this gets into the concept of experience design and the role that for the time that you're in that restaurant, those experience designers basically are creating your experience. Of course, in interaction with how each person who walks in interprets the menu and how they they'll decide what they want to get in part based on their own experience of maybe that restaurant or other restaurants or their parents cooking or whatever, or their travels or whatever. Um, so this gets into this whole thing of where I'm trying to figure out how to proceed with posting content online, and I see that there's ooh, I see that there's like a lot of content um, online on YouTube, and people have to navigate through it. And a lot of times, people post stuff on YouTube, and then they have comments that are like, "Why did you post this?" And a lot of those are mean and excessively negative. But it does give rise to the question of like, what is the role of posting a given video for a given person and for the people who are watching it? And a lot of times in YouTube videos, people will address their haters and say don't leave negative comments or try to address their concerns in advance. And I guess I'm interested in doing that in the sense of or in the form of asking like what is the role in terms of other people's like lifespan progressions uh, and experience does posting these comments serve? Like, is it a way to vent? Is it like a campaign against certain types of things existing in the world or something or whatever? And this gets into like this question of how to empower other people to do more with their own lives and figure out the role that their actions and, and efforts and so on play in either advancing their own interests or advancing the interests of those they care about, or just kind of reflecting on what's happening and being kind of more aware, conscious. And basically, I think that in a lot of respects, being sort of more conscious, learning how to pay attention to things and the reasons for them, including one's own actions, has benefits, and it has benefits for oneself, and it can have benefits for other people too. As like the more aware one is, the more aware, the more just things can be less senseless in the world, perhaps.